Emerald Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Doctor Who Season 1 or Season 14, Episode 4, 73 Yards, and my thoughts on this episode. This is the worst episode of the season so far. This episode went so fucking political, it fucking shocked me. And Doctor Who has never been this political. Now, some people will probably bring up the Harold Saxon stuff. That was nothing to do with politics. That was mainly to do with mind control and satellites. This episode just... wow. Now, there was potential in this episode. There was a point that I thought, this is an actually interesting episode. To do that one scene with UNIT and to be able to scare the crap out of them, this enemy must be really powerful. Then they go fucking crazy with the politics. And by the end of the episode, most questions that I had, and I am guessing a lot of fucking people had, was not answered. They were just thrown away to maybe be answered some other time. I don't know if they're just going to abandon this. I probably think they are, but who knows what the future holds. But so Ruby and her mother go downstairs, and Ruby's mother comes up with a plan to go over to the old woman and ask her what her problem is, and how Ruby's going to hear the conversation is basically Ruby's mother's going to have a phone on. She's going to walk over to her, ask questions, and Ruby's going to be able to hear because of the phone. Now, I did say earlier, I don't understand why Ruby isn't going up to the old woman asking herself. I did just remember they did that scene, didn't they, where they showed every time she approached the old woman, she did back off. So, I did get that bit wrong. But anyway, so they start off with this plan. Whilst the mother is going over to walk to the old woman, the mysterious woman who lives next door, who I think is mysterious because I think she's Ruby's mum, or she may, I'm kind of thinking now, be the main bad guy in this series. I'm 50-50 on it. I think she's either Ruby's mum or she's going to be something of importance or be the main bad guy. I'm 50-50. But she asks about why Ruby and her mum are talking on the phone when they're literally next to each other. But Ruby says, don't worry about it, it's just a thing we're doing. And then the mysterious woman goes down into her place. So Ruby's mum walks over to the old woman, and whilst Ruby's listening on the phone starts to lose signal for some reason. Looks like old woman has powers to block cell phone reception. So Ruby's mum talks to the old woman, and then what happens every time somebody talks to the old woman, her mum gets terrified, jumps in a taxi, and Ruby runs to try to see what happened and why her mum is now terrified of her. But she doesn't get close enough because she's in a taxi, and then Ruby kind of realises she's in really deep shit now. I mean, if this old woman can turn her own mother against her, this person must be really powerful. So, and I don't understand why we keep getting these time jumps. So it's been a couple of weeks apparently, because Ruby's on the phone to her mother asking like what's happened, what did the old woman say to her. She bought some shopping, but when she gets back to their house, it turns out the locks have been changed. And Ruby tries to ring up her mother again and again, and her mother finally picks up, and Ruby asks, why you're not talking to me? And the mum says something really fucking harsh, like, you're not really my daughter, and the fact that even her own mother didn't want her. Which is like, wow. That's when the episode was getting really intense for me. Because I was like, if this old woman can turn her own mother against her and make her that vicious towards Ruby, this could be an interesting bad guy. How wrong I was. So Ruby has to pick up herself. She finds another place to live. She finds a job, and she meets up with Unit and talks to Kate, who's the head of it. And Kate explains the situation to her, asks about, how does the world protect itself now that the Doctor has somehow disappeared, which again, they never fucking explain why. But Kate tells her, yeah, it's normal stuff. We can survive without the Doctor by the skin of our teeth, but we can survive. And then she tells Ruby, listen, we'll get this all sorted out. We've got our best people on it. We're just going to grab her and interrogate her. Now, I kind of thought a lot of this was kind of over the fucking top. I mean, especially having a sniper on her, and then you got like a bunch of armed soldiers around her. I mean, even for an old woman, isn't that a bit over the top? But, it's an alien. It could be an alien. It could be witchcraft. Which, by the way, Kate brings up the fact that they're now dealing with more supernatural stuff, apparently. By the way, that might have been actually interesting if this episode has gone deeper into that. Unit dealing with the supernatural. Having Ruby and Kate work together and finding out that this person is some sort of ancient witch from somewhere, and Ruby disturbing that, witchcraft thing unlocked its power or something. That would have been interesting. Did we get that? No, we did not get that. So the Unit assault teams head into the old woman. Kate tells them not to talk to the old woman, just to grab her and throw her in a van. But somehow this old woman has so much power, she can turn the whole of fucking Unit against Ruby and Kate as well. Because as soon as Kate is on her earpiece, somebody explains something to her, and then Kate looks at Ruby with such disgust and hatred and just walks off. And again, this was the point I was thinking, shit, this is a major villain. This could literally be on the level of Blink. How wrong I was. So, we get a bunch of time skips where Ruby goes on a bunch of fucking dates with guys, which I was really surprised that we didn't see one fucking woman. I mean, that would have, like Ruby, all of Ruby's friends are gay. I'm surprised Ruby's straight. I'm really fucking surprised about that. So, after a while, Ruby then hears about a certain candidate who is running for Prime Minister. And the name, Roger Act Williams, I think his name was. Now, this name triggers Ruby because the Doctor mentioned about the worst and most evil Prime Minister the UK has ever had. I mean, this must be some really evil motherfucker, because I thought that was Margaret Thatcher. But again, that bitch. Whew. Anyway, so she hears the name, and then she starts to think, is this what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to stop the most evil Prime Minister that in British history from getting elected? And so she tells the boy she's apparently dating, that they're done, and then brings up he has a problem in the bedroom. No fucking idea why that needs to be mentioned. And runs off and thinks, this is what I need to do. She joins up with Roger Williams' campaign. She goes into the office, says she's willing to do anything, even hold the coats. Then we go to a scene where she's holding the coats, and where we see this William guy talking to the media. Now, it's pretty obvious that this political party this guy's a head of, I think it is based on the BNP. I think, the colour scheme definitely reminds me of those racist cunts. So I was kind of like, oh, we're going that far, are we? But I will give them, credit on thinking out of the box, having the BNP led by a Welshman. Just, I mean, wow. I don't think the Welsh are that stupid, you know. Sorry, but come on, the BNP are full of morons. Let's not be fucking ridiculous. So, this guy, Rogers, having an interview with, I'm guessing, the BBC, and talking about, you know, his policies, and they go on to, like, nuclear weapons, and how he gets asked a question about would he use nuclear weapons, and he says he should be able to. Then he also says he wants to leave NATO, I think. And this, to me, is just like, it's obviously pointing to Trump at that point. You know, maybe not on nuclear weapon stuff, but the leaving NATO stuff, I mean, there has been speeches where Trump has said that. But the most blatant fucking, you know, pointing at Trump, I would say, would be the next scene where, after the interview where Rogers told them to cut that bit about the nuclear weapons and how he would use them, Roger goes over to Ruby, sees if she is a part of his staff. She says yes, but then Roger looks over to another woman, asks the same question. Ruby says a part of a different team, and Roger sexually assaults her, or at least that's what that's what they're implying. Let's be fair with that. That's what they're implying. And listen, some people are going to say, how do you know that's Trump? Come on, the left say that shit all the fucking time. Don't be fucking ridiculous. No proof Trump's ever done that, but fuck it, right? Who needs proof when you're just so fucking... if you hate the guy that much. So, it turns out Roger wins the election, becomes Prime Minister, and now is going to do a speech in Wales as his first speech. Which, by the way, I fucking thought that's pretty fucking smart for a British Prime Minister to try to help build on the Union by starting his speech not in England like every other fucking Prime Minister does, but doing it in Wales. It's kind of weird the BBC has shown this guy is popular. He's popular enough to become Prime Minister, and he seems to want to not just have Britain run by England all the time. Seems like a good fella. You know, the whole sexual assault thing, you know, not calling that great, just saying other things, just not that part. I'm just saying that. So, somehow, I don't know why Ruby thought of this, while she's talking to... they get taken to the venue where the Prime Minister's going to do his speech, and, you know, they get told not to, you know, walk on the grass. Ruby gets talking to one of the Prime Minister's aides, who mentions the one of the dumbest parts of this episode. Apparently, this Roger guy has decided to give Britain nuclear weapons by buying them from Pakistan, and he's going to get the nuclear codes on Monday, the same day as his speech. And I'm just thinking, but Britain has our own nuclear weapons. We don't need the Pakistani ones. Why do we need crapper nuclear weapons when Britain ones are better? Seems very weird. And I don't know, maybe Russell doesn't understand our nuclear deterrent. Maybe he thinks because America gets a kind of say whether Britain uses its nuclear weapons, he thought that means we don't have control of them. Yeah, Russell, our nuclear weapons, it's literally the Prime Minister sends a letter and tells the captain of the submarine what to do. To fire a nuclear weapon, we have all the capability to do that on our own. You don't need codes from America to fire a British nuclear weapon. So why this entire scene was in the episode, I have no idea. I don't think Russell knows how our nuclear weapons work. But Ruby figures out this is the moment, and that this is the time to use the old woman to destroy this fascist Prime Minister's chances of becoming leader. She apologizes to the girl that got sexually assaulted by Roger and says she wishes this could have been different, but now she's going to do the right thing. That actually brings up a question. Why did Ruby knows this guy is a cunt, right? Why didn't Ruby stop him from sexually assaulting that girl? She knows he's a bad guy. She literally what the fuck? You knew this guy was going to assault her. Ruby, why didn't you just wait, get a camera out, and see him sexually assaulting that girl? You know what he's going to do. Catch him in the fucking act. That destroys his career. This didn't need to happen at all. Jesus. Oh, fucking right. The writing is shit. Anyway, so Ruby walks on the grass. Everybody's telling her not to walk on the grass. No fucker goes over to grab Ruby. Ruby gets out her phone and starts to move 73 yards away from the Prime Minister. When she gets 73 yards away from the Prime Minister, the old woman appears. The Prime Minister talks to the old woman, and that scares the shit out of him. And the next day, he resigns as Prime Minister. No idea why he needs to resign as Prime Minister if he's scared of an old woman. Because he then says, ask the woman. Maybe that's Ruby, maybe it's the old woman. Who fucking knows? Again, not explained. Listen, I don't need to be spoon-fed stuff, okay? I really don't. But there's got to be explanations at the end of the fucking day, okay? This has happened too many times to the point the Prime Minister is shitting himself. So, just explain it. What is going on here? And they never do. That's what really pisses me off. They never explain what... we'll get to that. We will get to that. Anyway. So, Ruby's done it. She has somehow gotten the Prime Minister so scared he resigns. Then some more liberal part of his party, which is fucking shocking since apparently he's a part of a right-wing group, but the next person is left-wing. Who fucking knows? Who fucking knows what this political party is? Enough to, appoint apparently a right-wing radical, but the next person's left. Who fucking knows? So she thinks she's done. Has she done enough? Has she gotten rid of the old woman? Turns out, no. So that whole fucking part of the episode, no point. The old woman, still there. Cut 40 years later, Ruby's old, goes back to the TARDIS with, I think, her granddaughter. Sits in front of the TARDIS, wears a bunch of flowers. The old woman is still there. Ruby then goes to her, I think, old people home, gets told about the lights and says when she was young, same thing for them, blah, blah, blah. Then we get the scene where the old woman appears in the room with her back turned to her, with the lights going on and off, and then it turns out the old woman... drum roll please, turns out to be Ruby herself. She is the old woman. And she then starts to warn herself, because they go back in time to when they first get there, the Doctor and Ruby, tells Ruby to listen and not to knock into the weird witchcraft stuff. They don't. And it turns out the entire fucking episode didn't fucking matter. She warns off Ruby. Ruby is stopped from, crashing into the witchcraft stuff. And that's the episode. Because everything after that is just Ruby telling the Doctor she's been to Wales, she broke some boy's heart. And that's how the episode ends, with them two having a little stroll through Wales. No explanation of why that happened. No explanation of what the old woman was saying to all these people to scare the shit out of them. And no explanation of how the fuck this woman turns out to be fucking Ruby. A fucking terrible episode. Now some people are going to try to defend us and tell me it's imaginative. It's out of the box thinking. It's an interesting, creepy episode. It's not explained. In Blink, when we first see the angels, we have no understanding of what's going on. How are people being kidnapped? How are these creatures not able to move when you're looking at them? Everything very mysterious at the beginning. Guess what that episode also does? It explains to you why. The Doctor tells the girl and the boy in the DVD extras how these arseholes work. They have to be stared at not to move. They also transport you in time and feed off your time energy. It's basically fucking explained at the end what these fuckers are, and the woman at the end figures out a way to trap these angels forever. It's a fucking fantastic episode. If you've not watched the episode, go watch it. It's Blink. It's the best fucking episode Russell T Davies ever did. Unfortunately, the angels got over the fuck used, but that episode will stand the test of time. It will. This episode, on the other hand, it will not. It is a fucking dull and pointless episode. Because guess what? Now that they say Ruby goes back in time and stops herself from doing that one thing, Ruby doesn't stop the Welsh crazy cunt from becoming Prime Minister, doesn't save that girl from getting sexually assaulted, and every other fucking thing that happens in the episode was for nothing. A terrible, pointless episode. That's it. I'm fucking annoyed. Last week's episode, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. The episode beforehand, I thought it was great. I'm still going to say it's great. The first episode was kind of shit. But this episode is insultingly bad. And insultingly political. I'm just fucking angry, man. I don't think Doctor Who's got long. And I've seen the ratings and all the videos about it and all the excuses. This series, I think it's done. I think next season we're getting an ending. And maybe that's the best thing right now, because if this is the out-of-the-box thinking episode we're going to be getting from Russell T Davies, he ain't got a chance in fucking hell of getting better. 0 out of 10. That's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think of subscribing. And if you have a comment, leave it below and I'll try to get back to it. Enter World Soldier. Bye.